Hello, welcome to Composer's Voice. My name is Robert Voisey. I am the director for Composer's Voice. Composer's Voice features new music composers, musicians, and creators of new music.
Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. Why don't we start with you, Joe? Why don't you tell us
Okay.
a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you do it?
Well, I'm Joe LaRocca, and I'm currently based in Boston. I'm primarily a flute player, but I've kind of leaned into wind doubling these days professionally. I was doing kind of the classical flute thing for a while, but then I started picking up saxophone and clarinet. Again, I had done it a little bit in high school and undergrad. And then I was on tour for a while with the National Touring Company of Jesus Christ Superstar, and have been kind of professionally doing musical theater pits ever since then. But in that time, I've kind of been, looking toward recording more, classical rep and new music stuff. And one of the things that led me to Robert was the fact that I was looking for a flute and electronics piece. And I just couldn't really find anything that I liked. And
Okay.
so I was just like, all right, let's just start from scratch and find something cool here.
And Robert, why don't we switch to you?
I'm Robert Anton Strobel. That is my professional name. I live in the Denver area, and I enjoy writing a lot of different types of music. I have a lot of character pieces that I just enjoy writing. I can write in basically any style. Lately, I've been leaning towards a lot of ambient, relaxing music, but I also enjoy projects like this that have me employ a lot of styles and allow me to explore different sounds, and they're just fun.
Joe, so you were saying, you couldn't find something and you were attracted to Robert. So what exactly attracted you to his piece or his style?
Well, let's see. I mean, first, I guess I can start off with what I was looking for. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems I was having with a lot of flute and electronics works I was finding was often it was often like a pretty flute piece that was kind of juxtaposed with electronic music that was happening at the same time. Either that, or it was like a demonstration of the composer's knowledge of extended techniques alongside electronics. In any case, I never found anything that really was communicating with each other. And if they were, it was a little bit too on the nose or a little bit boring. And not to mention the fact, too, that I also wanted to be able to improvise. But in any case, I remember emailing, I emailed your teacher, Robert. And it was funny because it was somebody appointed me to him, a composition professor at NIU, Northern Illinois University, had said, like, oh, this is the guy you want to talk to. And then I emailed him and he said, oh, you don't want to play this piece that I have. There's a much better composer in a student of mine. Here you go. Then you tossed me one of your pieces at the time, which I actually never got the chance to perform because it required somebody triggering, sounds on the laptop in real time. And I just couldn't find anybody to do that, but it was a fantastic piece. But I like the style because it had tonality to it, but it was interesting tonality, So I kind of stray away a little bit from the total tossing away of tonality, like people like to do in the kind of, second Vietnamese school mindset and stuff like that. But I also like cool kind of grooves alongside it. I like something that people can like kind of bob their heads to when they're listening to it. And so, that piece was had elements of that, and so I said, okay, this is a good starting point, but I think we could do better here, and especially adding improv portions was the biggest thing I wanted to do. So that's kind of how it all got kicked off.
So when you were looking at this piece and you were looking to improvise to it, like what was the mindset about the type of improvisation that you wanted to do?
Yeah, totally, just kind of modal drone based improv. I really love doing that kind of stuff because it is it's really free when you just have one note that you're playing against. Then suddenly your tonal possibilities are just absurd.
Sure. So Robert, Joe comes and he approaches you to. So he got one of your pieces that you looked at, right?
Yeah.
And then he asked you to write him a piece.
It happened over time. Sometimes stuff like this has to cook, as I like to say. And so, I'm just looking around for commissions, and I'm like, oh yeah, like Joe, he really liked my piece. And so I asked him, and he's like, yeah. So we started talking and going over different things and discussing the piece, and it started to become really exciting. Like I feel like he gave me like 20 different things, and I wrote them all down and I listened to them all, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it, and it inspired me because that's the type of person I am. I feel like I'm a sponge.
Cool.
And then, commissioned me. One of our goals in this piece was to kind of break up this idea that a piece of music had to be one thing. And I just went to town and went all over the place. And I think that that's what made the piece so interesting for me is just this. I felt like I had a limitless ability to just create interesting things. I wanted to utilize the fact that electronics could take you anywhere that you wanted. So, as an electronic musician and as an electronic composer, if you want to do something, you can just do it. You can add a little bit of a mellotron for 30 seconds if you want. Whereas in an orchestra, that may not happen. And also in an orchestra, you have like 30 people that you have to work with. And in this project, you only have one person to work with. And this person is totally committed to this piece, and they love it. And so you have this commitment that's really good. This person that's willing to play hard music, right? And then we have the electronics. Like if I want, I can do really hard things that would be extremely hard for orchestral musicians that just wouldn't fly. But being able to express myself and being able to create this varied palette of different things and being able to have these super quick transitions between one thing to the other, and also creating a vision of the way that I think that things should be. It's just this more three-dimensional world.
You wrote this piece for Joe. Is it Joe's piece?
I think so.
And what do you think about all that, Joe?
One of the goals of this one and having a flute and electronics piece was to have just a completely solo performance, interspersing those with different pieces. But my goal for a solo performance would be to have those elements as well, but be completely solo. I work in theater, so I do a lot of pits, and a lot of those can actually be really artistically fulfilling, especially since I found my way onto the stage. I've also won an acting award for, even though I didn't speak any lines. I was just an onstage musician for a play called the Lehman Trilogy, which was done in Boston at the Huntington Theater in Equity Stage, and then done at the Rep Theater of St. Louis. And so I really found a very interesting artistic outlet through that. And it was nice because I helped in the composition and there was improv aspects to it. It was very artistically fulfilling and very profitable. However, there is a lot of stuff that I want to do. And so now I'm trying to navigate, okay, how can I use my sort of local celebrity now to sort of put together my own performance? And so my plan now is to kind of curate my own solo performance. And in fact, I'm doing a recording session tomorrow to record just a multi-wind arrangement of the Brandenburg Concerto. I want to perform that alongside this, and then some other pieces, probably rent out a space in the Boston Center for the Arts and just advertise it as, oh, that guy you've seen in this and that and this and that play and musical. And so hopefully that'll pay for itself. But the fact is, even if it does really well, I'm not going to make a lot of money on it. But that's not the point. It's just being able, if I can break even on it, I will it'll be a huge success because I will have been able to finance a performance of new music without anybody else, without any administrators getting in the way. It was all me, and so I'd be really proud of that. But luckily, I mean, that's the thing though, there are ways of doing that. I mean, you can market yourself using the internet, which was never the case before. Oftentimes you don't, need financial backers to be able to go out and just do something, especially if it's just myself and a computer, essentially. So that's kind of the path I'm going down right now.
Cool. And it's great. Anyway, I applaud you, Joe. It's for composers, it's always great to have, a musician that, likes our music and is, a champion of it.
So we have someone like Joe that's absolutely invested in this project. And so what happens? I create an amazing piece of music that Joe likes. And that's rarer than you think it is. a parody.
Fabulous, guys. This is
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks so
This
much.
is fun. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. And I think that, when we talk and we make dialogue like this, we come up with different conclusions and we actually learn and grow mutually. Yeah, it's just amazing how communication and dialogue among musicians creates a stronger atmosphere for us all.
Check out my website, bigjoeflute.com, if you want to check out the stuff that I'm up to and my YouTube page and all that.
Thank you for joining us on Composer's Voice. We look forward to seeing you again on our next episode.